One thing that NHL players try to excel at other than what they do on the ice is sometimes their look on and off the ice, or more specifically what they try to do with their facial hair, or lack thereof. The tradition of NHL playoff beards has been around since the 1980s and is still around today, and there is no doubt that over the years there clearly have been some winners in the beard category. Today, we are going to talk about those who grew some of the best beards, and we're going to talk about 10 that were awesome at wearing their beard, and you'll even learn a little about their NHL career. For further ado with number 1, we have Lanny McDonald. McDonald is almost remembered as much for his stash as he was his play, and was proud of it. It turns out there are actually multiple offers he got from various razor companies that suggested he shave his famous beard. But he rejected the offer, all because he was so proud of it. After all, you can't deny that the beard, which represents something of a walrus, goes well with his curly red hair. While he had the stash for his entire career, he didn't actually complement it with his mustache until the final year of his career with the Calgary Flames team that won him a Stanley Cup, which was in 1989 in 6 games over the Montreal Canadiens. He also has advice for anyone who wants to grow a beard. As for his career, he played most of it split between the Toronto Maple Leafs, 1973 to 1981, and the Calgary Flames, 1981 to 1989. He got to Calgary in the form of a trade when he went to Calgary with Joel Quenneville, and in exchange, Toronto got Pat Hickey and Wolf Payement. Over the course of his career, McDonald won a Stanley Cup in 1989 with the Calgary Flames, made 4 All-Star teams in 1977 and 1978, then continued the repeat in 1983 and 1984, won the Masterson Trophy during the 1982 to 1983 season, and also won the Clancy Trophy during the 1987 to 1988 season. For beard number 2, we have the Penguins' Max Talbot. Talbot falls under one of those players who did not always have a beard. In a matter of fact, when he started in the NHL, he didn't even have a beard and didn't grow one until the 2014 playoffs, although Pittsburgh didn't quite have the success that Calgary did in 2014, as they got knocked out in the second round in 7 games by the New York Rangers. Anyways, here is a progression of Talbot's beard. As you can see, before the playoffs, he was completely clean-shaven, and then it gradually got thicker throughout the playoffs. As for Talbot's career, he won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins, which included the game-tying goal in Game 5 of the 2008 Stanley Cup playoffs. For number 3, we have the Zdeno Chara, who had it with the Bruins but now plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. While he doesn't have it anymore, sometimes the beard made him look even more intimidating. It certainly didn't help opponents that he was also 6'9", and this random fan described his beard that he had was like Goliath.
Does he have a beard?
Yeah.
Like Goliath?
Yeah, he has a beard like Goliath.
Something which started as a trend for the Bruins during the 2011 Stanley Cup playoffs, a year that they actually won the Stanley Cup. It's fitting that he played for the Bruins at the time that he grew it, because most people will agree that he looks a bit like a grizzly bear. Unfortunately, Chara chose not to keep that particular advantage. Chara grew his beard in 2011 along with the rest of Boston Bruins team that wore it as a superstition, which evidently paid off as they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. Moving on to number 4, we have Paul Mara, who in addition to being famous for his beard, he was also famous for his fighting. If you YouTube Paul Mara, you'll find Paul Mara versus various other hockey players like he was a boxer or with the MMA or something. In a matter of fact, on March 12, 2011, we had a fighting of the beards when he faced Max Talbot. When finding his beard, you'll see that it's simple and classic. For his career, Mara was a journeyman splitting his time between the Phoenix Coyotes, Tampa Bay Lightning, New York Rangers, Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, and the Anaheim Ducks. For number 5, we have Scott Niedermayer. If you paid attention to his beard, it literally looked like time was passing, as it grew grayer with each lasting season. Just like the other beards on here, Niedermayer's beard was well trimmed and fairly thick. As for his career, he won 4 Stanley Cups, made 4 All-Star games, won the 2006 to 2007 Smythe Trophy, and split his career between the New Jersey Devils and Anaheim Ducks. Moving on to number 6, we have Scott's brother Rob. The one difference between Rob and Scott is Rob has actually been able to profit off his beard. He actually has a card which is a limited leaf edition from when he had a stubble beard, which was found on eBay for $19.99 Canadian dollars or $14.99 in American dollars. At its peak, Rob's beard was so thick that in the May 15th, 2006 edition of Sports Illustrated, he was being quoted as saying that it was so thick you could hide a bird in it. As for Niedermayer's career, that hasn't been so shabby either, as he won a Stanley Cup and is one of those players who can be awarded for longevity, as he spent 17 years in the NHL, mostly with the Florida Panthers and the Anaheim Ducks. He won his Stanley Cup as part of a team that almost no one thought would win it, the 2007 Anaheim Ducks, as they finished off the Ottawa Senators in 5 games. In the offseason, after both brothers had officially won the Cup, they actually got to spend the day with it, and starting in 2007, August 27th became Scott and Rob Niedermayer Day. For number 7, we have Tampa Bay's Jason Garrison, who played for the Tampa Bay Stanley Cup Lightning and was voted the best beard of the Stanley Cup by the NHL's broadcasting staff. His beard fit his face absolutely perfectly and made him look like some type of a mountain man. He also had his own blog specifically about his beard. Over the course of his career besides Tampa Bay, Garrison also played for the Florida Panthers and Vancouver Canucks. Unfortunately, he didn't win a Stanley Cup, so in his case, the beard didn't bring him very much good luck. But that doesn't mean he didn't make any history. He is actually the first player to ever score in an overtime contest that started 3-on-3 in a 3-2 win over the Philadelphia Flyers when he was with Tampa Bay. Moving on to number 8, we have Mike Commodore, whose hair and beard would probably by far give him the hairiest head in hockey. And no, there is no stat for that. With his beard, Commodore also had afro-type curly hair and started growing the beard prior to the playoffs in 2011 as a member of the Detroit Red Wings. As you'll see in this first video in a fight against Tim Jackman, you'll see that at one point he only had a small mustache before growing into his big old gnarly beard. For number 9, we have Scott Hartnell, who had a similar advantage with the beard as Commodore when it comes to sporting the look, in that he had big bushy curly hair, so it was naturally an easy look for him to pull off. During the year of the NHL lockout during the 2012 to 2013 NHL season, that same year, he was also listed as Hottest Hockey Player of the Year in Cosmopolitan's list of the hottest hockey players with Jaromir Jagr and Jeff Carter. Hartnell also made the beard thing into a charity called the Beardathon, and here is a short video of what he has to say about it. Lastly, for number 10, we have Philadelphia's Jakub Voracek. And with the way his beard looks at the end, you'd think he had it all his life. And just like with Hartnell and Commodore, he has the perfect hair to go with a beard. Voracek has been with the Flyers for most of his career, and while he spent the bulk of it with the Flyers, he is currently with the Columbus Blue Jackets. While he has a Stanley Cup-style bead, unfortunately it has not won him any actual Stanley Cups.